Welcome everybody to the first ever Kingdom Says live podcast edition. I am your normal co-host as always, Garrett Williams. I am joined by one of my two usual co-hosts, Kyle Henning. Kyle, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well. Dealing with some technical difficulty, weird things. Like he said, this is the first live we've done for this, so we're learning some things tonight. But bear with us a little bit. It's a Friday night. It's the AFC Championship game edition. It's one of the reasons we wanted to go live, get an opportunity to be joined by one of our good friends and guests, and also interact maybe with you guys a little, but also mostly just get out live and on a Friday night in front of a huge game and really talk about what's coming up. So, with that said. Garrett, who do we have with us?
Yeah, we've got a very special guest joining us today, Mr. Charles Goldman, conference managing editor of AtoZ Sports. Charles, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited for this weekend. I'm happy to be here with y'all and talking some Chiefs Ravens and get this AFC title game underway. I'm ready. I could run through a brick wall right now. I'm amped up for this one.
I was gonna say you've been putting out doing a lot of the quotes from the pressers and getting a lot of that stuff out, which thank you, because I listen and watch all the pressers, but trying to go through and diagram and dialogue all that stuff out takes time. So I appreciate that you do it for us in an easy to consume fashion on your timeline. What's your timeline? What's your handle?
At GoldMCT NFL. You can find me there, and AtoZsports.com. It's where you can find all my written content.
Ban that. Garrett, you see that? We want to find Charles there. We're dealing with some, like I said, weird stuff in the chat. We're working on a whole bunch of stuff tonight. We appreciate Charles being with us for this because it's going to be fun. I think Garrett might be muted potentially because his mouth moved and I
don't know. Yeah, I was trying to figure out.
So
I don't know how to be that guy, but it's all right.
With all the quotes and stuff, I imagine you've got to be feeling jacked up because reading through them all, watching the press conferences, these guys are ready to go. And what are some of the more fun ones that you've gotten that you think of the ones you've put out? Because there's a whole bunch of them. There's been a lot of stuff, but
I'm glad you asked me because Travis Kelce today, he just had like an all-timer. He was talking kind of about what made like this Chiefs team unique. Let me pull it up here. He said, we're resilient. We grew together. We saw the struggles. You saw the growth. I think that's what makes us special. Just come into that locker room and you'll see the chemistry. You'll see how much we want it for the guy next to us. That's when you know you've got a good team. That quote gave me like chills, and the seriousness with which he said it, because you think about this team and their progression this season, and this has not been a normal year, especially on the offensive side of the ball for this team. Like, they have not been the team that they have wanted to be, right? They've got some very, very interesting struggles this season, whether it's dropped passes with the wide receiver group. At times they've had penalty problems. There have just been things that have come easy to them in the past that have not been easy this year. And there's been a lot of finger pointing and blame on the outside of the organization, but this team has really rallied around each other and stuck together through all of that. And man, is it just it's a tough thing to go through a full 18-game season, go into the postseason, and to be playing your best football, to hit your stride at the right time. And it really does feel like this Chiefs offense, that they're hitting their stride at the right time. The defense, that they are, continuing that dominant play that Steve Spagnuolo has helped them produce throughout the entire seain. So, man,
we're going to get to Spags later for sure. Don't worry about that.
It's really exciting. It's really exciting. And, it's an exciting time to be a Chiefs fan, as this whole, run has been. I saw a tweet earlier about the Eagles quarterback coach, Alex Tanney. Right? Former Chiefs quarterback, once upon a time, a guy that Kansas
Man.
City Chiefs fans were getting extremely excited for the fact
So
that we
much
signed this guy because we had such trouble in the history of our franchise finding a great quarterback. And it just, makes me think about how blessed we are to have Patrick Mahomes leading this team, leading this franchise, and making history. The regular season, the postseason, all throughout NFL history.
Literally every single facet, he just setting waves, and it's crazy. And we talked about it a lot this season. Obviously, this run to the Super Bowl has been a lot different than every other run in the Mahomes era thus far. Definitely been a tough one. But going into this postseason, we've talked about it a lot, Charles. I don't know if you feel this same way, but ever since the Dolphins game, it's been house money that the Chiefs have been playing with. Beating win or losing versus the Bills, it would have been whatever as long as we didn't have a first round exit. Beating the Bills, though, was just a very sweet cherry for the season as we go forward here. But it's been definitely just a lot different of a feel this year for Chiefs fans. And like you mentioned, when it counts, they really have started to kick it up during the postseason, which has been the theme of the Chiefs of the Chiefs every year. But such a different take on it this year. It's been
it's something we didn't think they were going to do this year. There was a lot of, I shouldn't say there was a lot of people that did not think this team was going to put it together at the end of the year and make it.
I was definitely one of them. I can't lie.
I said it all season, even when we were on a tear to start and had the nice record. When things got rockier in the part of the year that we're normally very good in, my comment was the same thing. The goal is always starts with Andy at win the division, and then you work your way from there. And this year, they didn't. They were in position and then didn't get onto the chart of win the number one seed. They didn't win the number one seed. So they've had a different route, as Garrett talked about. But I like that you wanted to talk about Travis's quotes about how this team stuck together, because you're 100% right. There's been fire at I love this fan base, but the dramatics that social media gets to when this team loses a football game is absolutely insane. I've seen Brett Veach fired like 1,600 times this year at different points. I've seen Andy Reid fired, retired, which we'll get to the retired thing in a minute because I have to talk to you about that. We have to talk about it. We've seen Matt Nagy taken out front and put on the stake for everybody.
Yeah,
you've had players basically flat out blamed for things, which in some of the instances, kind of sort of your fault. We get it, but
Connor
also it's a team. Oh God, and that's a guy I have been on. I've been open.
Still not resolved now, hey
man, they've played a lot better. MVS has been unbelievably different than all season long, but I guess not too unbelievably, because this seems oddly similar to what happened last year. He was invisible for large chunks of last season, and then he had an insane AFC Championship game, and everybody forgave him. I
still haven't forgiven him, but
shout
out MVS though. Shout out MVS.
It is what it is. From the together standpoint, Clyde, good Lord, George when he got drafted. People still sleeping on this cornerback duo, especially L'Jarius, and that's more outside of the fan base than inside of it. I mean, the season started with Chris Collinsworth painting a giant target on Jawan Taylor's back and telling everybody on the planet to pick on him, and they have all year long.
They sure have. Yeah.
You can only do so much, and we've talked about all of this stuff, and yet their focus, and they have stayed together. They've got a bunch of injuries. They've lost guys. Jerick McKinnon's not playing right now, but he's at practice being a leader and being a dude and lightening the mood and vibes and whatever. Like, I saw the video of him and Clyde and them today at work. Those things matter. This team likes being around each other. They like playing together.
Yeah.
And we talked about the penalties and stuff. This is, I think, more of the year where we see this team's youth than last year. And I thought we were going to see it more last year than this year, but this year has been glaring that they were young, not even necessarily age young, but NFL experience young. And they've had some issues with some different things, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So from that angle, and being able to go down that road, for them to come together and like you said, be playing their best football at the time where they absolutely have to, because that's a Miami team they absolutely locked up, and they went into Buffalo and played villain. This is the villain era. You are the bad guys. The memes and stuff all week. It's so fun to watch because we always used to talk about we might be the Patriots if this keeps going. We're there. Hi, they're mad. Everybody on earth is mad.
Yeah.
I saw the graphic
Right.
today of all the teams, and then the one with Romo and the refs and Taylor Swift and Jim Nant. Like, we're them
Jackson
now.
Mahomes.
It's hilariously bad, but it's fun, and this team seems to have embraced it because Patrick seemed to have a lot of fun being the bad guy in Buffalo, and so did Travis and Crit. That whole team gave it to Buffalo's crowd after that game ended openly. So they like to be the villains now, and if these guys like to be the villains and are manufacturing material and bulletin boards out of nowhere, which again we'll talk more about, I'm sure, here in a few minutes. But if that's the way they're going to be, this fan base should get ready to have a lot of fun, because you're going to have a lot of people that want to just sit and take runs at us, and it's going to be a lot of fun to do it, especially if they keep going into other people's buildings and taking people's souls, so to speak.
Yeah, I just feel we're coming into a similar scenario this upcoming game, the AFC Championship game. People are talking about the Ravens' home field advantage. They've got the number one defense, the number one offense, the MVP at quarterback. I just think that the narrative that is being written, and how much this Super Bowl championship team is being dismissed is kind of incredible, and I'm sure that it has painted a big chip on everyone's shoulder in Kansas City as they get ready to head to Baltimore.
They seem to be making chips. Patrick and Bobby seem to be out there just printing chips and putting them on shoulders.
He will do everything. Yeah, he's getting all the receipts. But yeah, obviously Chiefs head into Baltimore this week for the AFC Championship game, the first AFC Championship game in 6 years to not be hosted in Arrowhead, which is pretty crazy to think about. But the Chiefs have already won a road playoff game, so we kind of know that environment. Baltimore compared to Buffalo, pretty intense environment. Baltimore is definitely a good environment.
The bank's going to be loud.
Yeah, not going to be nearly as cold, I don't think, as it was up in Buffalo.
It's supposed to be wet, I think.
I think it is supposed to be wet.
Potential for rain, which I find that a little interesting because Andy Reid every year out at St. Joe, and there's always one practice where clouds roll in, and it's tough, right? It's a little tough with the clouds rolling in. You're like, oh, I don't know, practice might get canceled, and Andy likes to stay out there until that thunder comes in, right? The thunder comes in, they have to go to the indoor. But if it's just rain, if there's no lightning thunder in the area, he is keeping those guys outdoors because he wants them to practice in the elements. And happens every year, and it pays off. One game out of the year, typically every year. And it might be this game that is the one where it pays off.
Patrick has proven on a multitude of occasions that he can throw the ball in a wind tunnel or in a vacuum. It really doesn't seem to matter what conditions he's in. He can throw the football pretty much wherever he wants to. So he's not the concern, and that's the good part. And you having this defense being as good as it has been, but maybe not have the turnover luck or the forced turnovers that some of the other top defenses have had this year. They've done all they've done with very few turnovers since the halfway point of the year. I think they have almost twice as many turnovers in the first half of the year as they do in the second. I think it was 13 and 9 or maybe more than that. It's definitely considerably more in the first 9-10 weeks of the year than it is in the last half, to the point where I think it's 0.5 turnovers per game in the last half of the season. So with that being the equalizer with rain, it makes it hard for everybody to hold on to the ball. And Baltimore's been a defense that's predominantly forced a bunch of turnovers this year. It's part of the reason they've been as good as they have. They've got, I think, 30 and like 6 red zone turnovers. So those have been a thing. And if this team can win the stuff that they've made hard, to quote Charles earlier, of all the stuff that's usually not hard for them, that's been hard for them this year, if they can win those categories for 60 minutes, you're probably looking at another Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, I think definitely, the offense is going to be a big factor going into this game, as it has been really every game. It seems like obviously the defense has taken us pretty far, but the past couple games, the offense has really woken up and really taken the challenge of some of these opposing defenses. And obviously Baltimore is no exception. Charles, what do you expect to see from Baltimore, game plan wise, potentially to potentially slow down what the Chiefs have got going on? Obviously, both Buffalo and Miami tried a couple different strategies, but seems like with this Chiefs offense to rolling the way they are, it's becoming tough. It's becoming tough to kind of just run that too high look over and over and let it work, because you have Pacheco running underneath so hard. You have the short game developing good. You've got the yard after carry guy with Rashee Rice, who will produce some yards for you. So what are we expecting from the Chiefs versus this Baltimore D, Charles?
Yeah, I think they're going to look to limit the explosives, which they've done a really nice job of this season, right? They have a pretty solid secondary there, not a lot of holes there. It's got a good pair of safeties, good cornerbacks, and what have you. So I think they're going to, make Patrick Mahomes, matriculate the ball down the field. Without a better phrase for it, and we've seen at times, sometimes this offense and Patrick, they get impatient. Like, they want to take the big shot plays. They want to make those happen. But like, if the teams aren't going to give those to you, and if you're not going to take advantage of a light box by pounding the football with Isaiah Pacheco, you're going to have to make the short passes and kill them, kind of in the middle of the field and with the yard after catch stuff. I think that, over the past couple of games, we've seen that the Chiefs are willing to lean into the run game. And I almost think that, obviously you don't want to be without your all-pro left guard, but I almost think that Nick Allegretti might actually be a better matchup in the run game for this defensive front that the Baltimore Ravens have, in the power run game. Moving some of these guys off the ball to clear, some holes between the tackles for Pacheco to run.
I think Allegretti has been a huge guy to have on this team. It was good that they re-signed him. It's good that he's been here the entire time. We talked about it, that if you had to have a starting offensive lineman go down for this game, you would have much preferred one of the interior three rather than one of the tackles, because you have Nick Allegretti, who has that flexibility, which is huge. And he's no slouch. I mean, he's
made extraordinarily more obvious when Prince Tegawanoga is still out this week with a concussion, and your only backup at this point that you really have any game snaps under this year is Wanya Morris.
Yeah,
Who's been out.
Prince is on IR still. They're not activating him, and then the concussion. Wanya should be back from that this week, so he should be sliding back into that backup role.
He's just missed 2 full weeks of basically the 2 of the bigger weeks, 2 of the full weeks with concussion issues. So you'd really rather not have to have him baptized by fire again against, even though it's not necessarily the most ridiculous pass rush off the edge for Baltimore. They have at least one guy, Mr. I think it's Odafe now. Is that what he's got his name at? Because he changed his name. Odafe.
Owe.
Because it was something else in the draft, and then he changed.
Owe. Yeah.
So
shout out him.
He's on the edge, but other than that, they've got an older Jadeveon.
They got that guy up the middle, the D tackle, Justin
Matabike.
Matabike, yeah.
He is in the middle, but their edges aren't
honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they run right at Matabike.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think that with that power run game, I think that there could be some opportunities to move him off the ball, and I think that they're probably not thinking the Chiefs would be that bold to do that, but I think that there's some stuff on tape where they've seen they can maybe take advantage there. he's not the lengthiest guy, right? So
And Nick is
you
a
get some of
mean
those
guy.
bigger offensive linemen, longer offensive linemen on him, and you can potentially move him off the ball a bit. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, if that toe limits Pacheco at all. I don't think it will, right? Because
I don't think he
obviously
knows how.
He's a tough
to
dude.
be limited.
right. But like he's a tough dude. He played through a torn labrum and a broken hand in the Super Bowl. He's a tough. That's more than a tough dude. That's like
toe ain't gonna hurt nobody.
That's like a man who like eats glass for breakfast. Right
you're
there.
entering certain like combat sports and like certain other sports levels of toughness where it's like you're insane. You're actually crazy. Okay, cool. That's fun.
I'm glad he's on my.
They've been running a lot behind Joe Tooney, right, with Pacheco lately. They went right to that basically as soon as Tooney went out in this last game, right? Tooney got hurt on his touchdown run, and then you had the quick change on the I think it was the fake punt, right? That the Chiefs sniffed out. So you get the quick change, and then the next play, you got Nick Allegretti in there, and he takes out number 92 for the Bills, Daquan Jones, and both of their linebackers who were in the game on that play. He takes out all three of them
straight out.
And Isaiah Pacheco runs for 29 yards. That's his first play cold off the bench after not having started a game since week 17. Like
that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good.
That's pretty impressive. Like that shows you that this guy is not he's not the normal like off the bench like
like he would start on a lot of teams.
Yeah, he really could be a starter. I mean, him and Andrew Watt.
The only reason that a lot of people are like, oh well, if he could be a starter on other teams, why is he not a starter on other teams? Well, I'll tell you why. His wife had twins just before the Super Bowl. He had two-month-old children, all right, when free agency started.
Good.
You really want to move your family when you have 2-month-old children, across the country to some other team that you're not familiar with in a place you're not familiar with. The only team he would have gone to in free agency, all right, this last year is the Chicago Bears because his family lives in Chicago. He's an Illinois guy. So but he didn't have that opportunity. So he stayed with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's making a nice salary to play backup. And, now look, this is a guy who has an opportunity now to prove, hey, I'm a starting offensive lineman in this league, right? This could be his big break. So I mean that
this is a payday game.
As the great Therese Paylor used to say, contract year is undefeated.
It is.
And this man, he's got a contract year moment coming up in this game and for the whole world to see.
Yeah, he's going to put on national spotlight. I'm sure they will talk about him ad nauseum. So that'll be fun to see. But hopefully they really go ahead and rely on that run game to really dominate. Obviously, Pacheco running out there. Clyde, we'll probably see more Clyde, which is, to each their own. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I know Kyle is. But
I like his role now. I like what they're asking him to do now. I like what he's doing when they're asking him to do it. He's been largely reliable in major situations and made some very big plays that we don't think about on drives for this team in different games that mattered this season, including in the last 2 games we just played. So.
What's crazy to me about Clyde? So last year in the Super Bowl, they had some wide receiver injuries. Juju was questionable.
I know where you're going.
They had all this stuff. So they had him that whole week practicing wide receiver on the scout team. They have literally a whole section of the playbook for wide receiver plays for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I'm just surprised that they haven't busted any of them out yet. Because he has been playing really well. We know he catches the ball well.
I mean, he caught that touchdown
that's
pass.
Something he does well.
With a beauty.
We've known that since college. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have an absolute meltdown.
He runs the Texas route better than anybody on the team. But
he ruins people with that route.
This is the game right here, right? This is the game where you unload the clip because you have 2 weeks now to prepare for the Super Bowl. So you can reload in those 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely unloading.
Like Andy has 507 plays, so he's got plenty to unload.
Right, but we also look at some of the stuff they've had success with recently. They've gone back to like the Alex Smith offense, right? They're running plays from like 2013, 2014, 2015.
Yeah, Travis Kelce actually mentioned that second touchdown of his in the Bills game was from when they played in London back in like 2015 or something.
Yeah, so, Chase Daniels did a whole breakdown on it because he was the backup quarterback, I think, at the time.
Probably, yeah.
And look, there are things that they're going to probably bust out from this game, like that.
We got the 2018 offense, baby. Come on, let's do it.
They're going to have some stuff, right, that they've had in the bag for a while. Like maybe they have a play built off of that touchdown play that's meant to confuse people. They do just something slightly different.
They're probably going to run that exact same play, but have an underhand shovel inside to Noah Gray running inside. You know, it's just going to be crazy.
Sure, there's a spinoff. The reason that they ran that McColl play on first down at the goal line was because there's another version of that play where that goes a different direction and goes to somebody else some other way. But because they have to run that play first to put it on tape, to be able to run the counter off of it to make sure that everybody goes over there to go that way.
If we know Andy Reid, we know that he loves putting things on tape. He loves putting things on tape.
The thing that you just said about Clyde is the thing that makes me absolutely insane. When they drafted him in the first round, I didn't love it, but I understood it on the basis that they were going to use him the way that they did at LSU. And then he got here, and then they didn't use him the way he was used at LSU for like 2.5 years. And then he got hurt, and he's lost a step a little bit because you're just not coming back from those 2 nasty high ankle sprains, because one of them was absolutely horrific, and the other one was right after it, like the next year, and was still and also not
hip injury,
good.
The stomach stuff. He's been through a lot, but the fact that he's still productive on any level is like,
and is going to nursing school.
Right. He's doing well for himself right now. I'm happy for him, to be honest, because he's a really good guy. But some of that stuff, some of that frustration that you're having,
use him.
It's not all, we think about it, and we point to Andy and say he's not designing the plays. They got the plays in there. A lot of it is just the offense and what they want to do, right? Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to take the dump off. He doesn't want to throw it to his running back. He wants to throw it 40 yards down the field to his wide receiver. And that's just in his nature. And he's had to learn and adapt and change. And like I said, he's had to learn to become more patient at times, death by 1,000 paper cuts versus going for the kill shot. But, I think that's probably a more underrated reason why Clyde wasn't quite as successful coming in here into Kansas City as many thought he would be.
Yeah,
and wasn't ever the main option.
And I think part of the problem early was his blocking in the passing game, which then didn't let him be on the field in traditional blocking like when he's going to be asked to block as the running back in a passing situation. So that didn't help early.
And he does need some blocking in his back.
They demand especially when EB was there, it was a requirement. There is no option.
You need to be blocking. Yeah.
So, but with that, then him talking about running the Devontae Smith routes on the scout team, which you're who on the scout team? Cool, but interesting.
Yeah.
And then him basically going, I know every wide receiver role. At first you're like, well, it's supposed to be really hard to learn all those wide receiver roles, and then you find, like I said, to pair that with the article that came out like the day before, where it's like, oh yeah, he's going to nursing school while also playing NFL football.
Yeah.
So he can clearly comprehend and diagnose large chunks of strenuous information in multiple fields at once. Maybe he can learn a whole set of wide receiver plays that are built for him. As you mentioned, they have a whole set. That's
he knows
crazy.
he knows all of the positions though. Let's see him play X wide receiver as a 5'7"
Come on, Clyde.
running back.
Get him out there, man.
Do you think they cover him with a corner, or do you think they walk a linebacker out there and put that on him and then end up paying?
And that's one of the reasons you think about maybe unloading this part of the playbook for a game like this, because it's something they haven't seen. It's something that could be a matchup winner, right?
Yeah.
We look at how they won, a lot of these games. One of the reasons they won against the Buffalo Bills is because the Bills didn't match defensive personnel. They kept playing their nickel defense when the Chiefs were out there in 12 and 13 personnel.
Here's multiple tight ends. How about 7 corners?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay.
Especially when cornerback is one of their weakest positions too. And I know they had a bunch of linebacker injuries in that game. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you're as hurt as they were, but you got to find a better way to match personnel.
This isn't the first time we've had decisions by Sean that didn't make sense on that side of the football in a game against us whether they've had the personnel or not.
Well, yeah, that'll happen with Sean, old Shawnee M. But certainly certain to say that Clyde will probably be a pretty big factor in this game. Especially like with Pacheco potentially having a little bit of a thing with his toe. You never know. They might try to play it a little safe. But, as far as receiving options go, obviously Travis Kelce has had a great couple games the past few weeks, scoring 2 touchdowns last week. Rashee Rice has been balling out. Those have been the 2 main receiving targets, which is good. That's what it should be. Obviously, MVS had a couple catches, good for him. Yada yada yada. But as far as receiving options, hopefully they kind of stick to that same game plan. They'll probably try to get a couple guys integrated once again, but mostly it should be. Hopefully it's the Travis Kelce show once again. Let's just keep feeding Kelce, keep on expanding that playoff touchdown record, and have a good time with it.
And
I think the best thing that they can hope for with Travis Kelce this week is that maybe the Ravens are a little bit vain, a little bit cocky about how good their defense is. And maybe they're like, hey, Kyle Hamilton can match up with him one-on-one all game. He can erase him, because if that's their thought process there, Kelsey's going to have a big game, right? If they think they have a guy who can one-on-one match up with him, I mean, they'll probably have to adjust mid-game if that's the case, and the Chiefs will take advantage of that early if they see it. But having a Rashee Rice right now is huge. Having him as that secondary option, and then just finding a tertiary option for this game, whether that is 1-2 punch of Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whether that is running 12 and 13 personnel and throwing to your tight ends sometimes. Noah Grace and Blake Bell action, get him a couple catches for, if you can get one or both of them over 30 yards, you'll be doing well.
If you can get Blake over 30 yards, great. That's
maybe we'll get some Wildcat stuff. No, please don't.
I can hear everybody like, no, ball in 15's hands, But we were on Travis, and you mentioned Andy. First of all, I think the largest discrepancy in matchup probably in this whole thing from the offensive side of the Chiefs and the defensive side of the Ravens is the fact that Mike McDonald, I don't believe, has ever seen Andy Reid before, ever. And that's a different animal when you have to go head up with that dude and call plays against him. It's that. Good luck. Godspeed. I
mean, he's got years and years of knowledge. He's calling plays that haven't been called since the 1930s. He's got all that in his bag of tricks. But
with both of those said, there's been stupid rumors about Travis and Andy retiring this year. I assume you, much like Nate Taylor today on Pat McAfee show, much like most of the other people that cover this team, have seemed to think those reports seem odd and ridiculous mostly.
Look,
are you led to believe that either of them are going anywhere?
If they are, I can guarantee you they haven't made that decision yet. And frankly, I don't see Andy Reid ever stepping away from this game willingly. All right.
Shove him out the door. That's what I thought.
He's a lifer. He's a lifer.
Yeah. He is someone who loves the game of football, and who is going to be around it in some capacity, every day until the body is not willing. And he's, as far as I'm aware, he's in good health. He's happy. He's having fun. He has just like Travis Kelce has said, he said, I have no reason to stop playing football. Andy Reid has no reason to stop coaching football. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He's got the best football player in the universe that he's coaching. And, he's within reach of, being potentially the greatest head coach in the history of the National Football League. He's within reach of that. And if he keeps going, he could very well reach that. And I tend to believe that he's going to keep going. I don't think retirement is on his radar, as some say it's on the Chiefs' radar. But I don't.
I mean, he even came out in a press conference and said that he had no plans of going anywhere, and Florio still just keeps on running with it. He really, it's one of those makes up a report and then creds his own report.
You keep running with it, and eventually you got to be right.
I mean,
right?
Hey, if you,
as Andy Reid said, you got to ask me that because I'm old.
If you send out 5 different tweets about it, boom, that's 5 different people who said, hey, he might retire.
Even if
I think it's also more of a product of like the coaching carousel this season. The fact that there's a lot of vacancies, a lot of people who are out there and available, a lot of good coaches, right?
Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel, to my knowledge, neither one really have jobs.
I saw Bill Belichick,
and they might not get him when the musical chairs is over. They might not have a job as an NFL head coach, which is absolutely wild, but
crazy. Yeah,
it's the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, in this business, and it's a results-oriented business, and both of them didn't get the results at their old job, and they ended up out the door, and we'll see if they land on their feet in some other capacity, right? Like, I imagine that
coordinator Bill Belichick is going to sound really strange.
Yeah, I feel like he would get
special assistant.
I feel like he would get a media job before he would take.
That was what I thought.
Bring him in.
That was my thought. But again, for him, he's hunting. Bill is hunting the wins list. He's not hunting anything else.
No,
but a year off might not be bad for him.
Well, what you mentioned with Andy is now that Bill's potentially not coaching next year, you can gain on the only guy that's active in front of you.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, and you, as Andy, finally got your quarterback after not having that dude for a long time. You finally got your dude. So, that was always weird. I just wanted to clarify that because we were talking about Travis and Andy and those matchups.
Is going to go anywhere.
The linebacker matchup against Travis Kelce is very interesting, and against the tight ends in general because of what you talked about with the multiple tight end sets earlier, and what they've gone to the last couple of weeks by going to those more often than they had all season. We talked about it on this show last week before the game. We talked about it Tuesday after because it's been a huge thing, and I was hoping and against hope that they would do it against that Buffalo defense, and they did. If you, as you mentioned, if they are going to try to line Kyle Hamilton or Roquan Smith up one-on-one with Travis Kelce, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I love Kyle Hamilton. I wanted him in a Chiefs jersey when in the first round, but I knew he wasn't going to end up in a Chiefs jersey in the first round. I wanted him bad regardless. Nobody wants Travis Kelce one-on-one. No one. Nobody does.
And again, Noah Gray, another receiving option out of that look that is a pretty tough matchup for a linebacker or a safety, right? So, that's one of those things that, if you get the run game going, you get some play action going, you can hit some of these guys downfield, get some big plays going, kind of at the mid-level and downfield level. I think it's going to be interesting to see how much they use that if especially with some of the struggles they've had getting some of the other receivers going. MVS is came alive this last week. But Mecole Hardman, that trade's kind of looking like a bust right now. And if they can't figure out a way to get him going, then
don't be surprised if he gets one of the first touches of the game, one of the first 15.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked.
I was saying that for Garrett and everybody that's like Garrett, who's like, oh my God, I hate it. I don't want to.
I'll pay another 6th rounder to not ever have to see Mecole Hardman hold the ball.
Like I said, this team sticks together, so I wouldn't be shocked if they do give him that.
I wouldn't be shocked either, and I also wouldn't be shocked.
Went on New Heights and literally took arrows for that.
That's a good teammate right there.
Nobody asked him to. Nobody asked him.
I mean, that's Travis. He's been doing that all year for MVS and the guys. So that's good to see for sure. And like I said, hey, all that matters is that they like him, and they still have trust and confidence in him. Because I'll tell you, I don't. I'll say that.
Fair.
I just don't. I'm sorry. I'm not the one who's giving the play call though. So hey, that's good. Good for Mecole.
I mean, he would probably tell you that's fair too, because he hasn't played as well as he wants to right now.
He doesn't have to care. Like, who cares if the fans don't like him? Like, as long as your teammates still support you and you're coaching, like
he's making a hot millie this year. He's happy.
Yeah, exactly. You're about to win another ring, Mecole. Like, definitely shout out to you. And I'd like Mecole as a person, but man, just cannot wait to never have to watch him play football again. Anyways, hopping over to the defensive side of the football for the Chiefs going into this matchup versus the Ravens. Obviously, the big talk of the game containing Lamar Jackson. The last time these two teams faced was in 2020, I do believe. And I saw some highlights for that on Twitter a couple days ago. And that was a really weird highlight to watch because it was during COVID when there was no fans in the stadium. And it was just like weird fake crowd noise mixed with silence. And you could hear every single action and whistle.
Players got way louder when they actually talked to each other on the field, and then when it was like the actual crowd noise, it sounded like it was back in somebody's backyard across the street.
The one thing I miss about that is like every single like tackle and collision, you heard it pristine.
Yeah, it was. You heard
those pads, man.
It made a lot of people understand how violent,
how hard, you're really getting hit there.
And it's like every play.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience for sure. But in that game, the Chiefs on the offensive side of the ball had 5 touchdowns. Defensively wise, Lamar Jackson he kept up well. Obviously, this is 3 years later, so we have a much different looking defense. But Charles, initial thoughts on what Lamar Jackson has been doing this season overall. I mean, he's probably going to win the MVP from the early looks of it all, unless Dak Prescott sneaks in there. Who knows? You never know. Dak Prescott and the boys. I'm just kidding. He's not going to be. But when the AP released their top 5 NFL or MVP candidates, that was like, I don't know about those ones.
One of these is not like the other.
yeah. There certainly was something. There certainly was something. But obviously, Lamar's having a fantastic year. What can we expect from him coming into this game, Charles?
Yeah, he's had just a phenomenal season. He's seeing the football field really well as a passer. That's one of the things that I think stands out the most. I know everyone likes to talk about his ability as a runner and the threat he brings as kind of this dual threat quarterback, but he's definitely seeing the field well as a passer. He's throwing the ball well. He's got some serious zip on his throws too. He's fitting into tight windows. He's got just a plethora of weapons. Obviously, you've got, Odell, you got Zay Flowers, you got Isaiah Likely, you got Mark Andrews coming back right now. You've got a whole cast of running backs who all have different skill sets. Tylan Wallace is a pretty good receiver, but I don't know if he's going to play this week. But they've got some dudes, I do like that group. I think that they could definitely cause some havoc if the Chiefs defense is coming out the way they played last week. They need to, tighten up, play better, kind of in between the tackles and getting guys down on the ground, the run game. Coverage in the secondary was great last week. If they can pick up where they left off there, they're going to be good. Yeah. In terms of matchups, I feel like, put Snead on Odell, you put McDuffie on Zay Flowers, and you let the other cards fall as they may. It's going to be interesting. Spags spoke about this last week. he touched on a little bit this week. It's tough to defend the tight end position in the NFL. It's one of the toughest positions to routinely scheme for and take away. And having two guys and likely they roll out there in the 12 personnel looks, it's going to be tough on this defense. They're going to need some guys to step up in ways that they really haven't had to quite this year. I mean, last week they kind of had a similar type of thing with Kincaid and Knox, but I would say that Likely is a lot more explosive than either of those players right now. Kincaid, kind of. In the future,
been really good this year.
Yeah, I think in the future he'll be right up there. But right now, Likely's on a roll. I mean, that guy is lightning in a bottle.
So Isaiah Likely is somebody that we liked on this show during the draft last year as a fun potential tight end option. I naturally, when the Ravens took him, was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. They like tight ends similarly like we like tight ends.
So Ravens have a lot of guys that we liked on this program.
Yeah,
Zay Flowers. We liked Tylan Wallace. We liked Rashad Bateman.
Patrick Queen, who's probably the worst player on their defense right now, frankly. Kyle Hamilton. They have a bunch of guys. My thing for what Charles was just talking about there is this. I guess I'm a bit different. I'm not as impressed by this weapon group. Zay Flowers, I am. Odell has been largely for like all. He's got like McCole Hardman yards. He's got like 500 yards this year. Like,
he's a playoff performer. Yeah, he really.
That's fine, and he may be. I don't know that I would put Snead on Odell. I think I would probably put Snead on Zay, and I would let Trent deal with Odell, frankly. If you're going to go that route.
Josh Williams on Odell. Let him handle him.
I think Josh Williams matches up better with Rashad Bateman, frankly.
Josh's been playing really well these past
couple
weeks.
As your third corner who's given up like no yards and no reps or anything. That's what I'm saying. There's nobody in this wide receiver group of Baltimore's that's like, oh no, what do we do? Our secondary can't cover that guy one-on-one. Like I'm not afraid of any of those.
Our secondary does match up pretty well, especially with just the distinct lack of a true wide receiver one from them. Really,
the thing that's the most concerning is the tight ends, and Spags has addressed it. They can address the tight ends, which I think probably is why when if you haven't yet, Charles has written a couple of articles today, but one was about the move of Derek Nottie and the activation of Darius Harris to the roster. I think that tells you that they think you're probably going to need more linebackers than they originally had for this game. Adding Darius in, they're probably going to elevate practice squad defensive linemen would be my guess for this one. But adding Darius Harris to the regular roster means they think they're going to need linebackers too. So with that said,
I think it kind of tells you that they're expecting that Willie Gay Jr.'s neck isn't going to get better.
Don't say that, because he practiced technically today, didn't he?
No, he was a non-participant today. So I don't think that Willie's going to play. I'd be surprised if he did at this point. But that said, I mean, they didn't rule him out yet, so obviously there's a chance they're listing him as questionable. But yeah, that neck, it's he's got spasms and tightness. He can't turn it left or right now.
Right? He can't move it.
Yeah, that's not good. So, and they've done imaging on it. There's no breaks. There's no ligament damage or anything like that. So that's the good thing about it. It can get better, and obviously they'll work around the clock as a training staff to try and get him ready to go, because he's a big piece. But at the same time, I don't think so long as those top three are in there, so long as it's Bolton, Tranquil, and Chenal, I don't think you're losing that much.
Still pretty solid.
Obviously, Jack Cochran's a guy who can kind of get in there, and I mean that's a little bit of a drop off. But once you have to get into the Cole Christensens and the Darius Harrises, that's when you start having to worry about like that linebacker depth a little bit. And I know that Spags likes to have a lot of those guys at his disposal, because it's a position that is very important to this defense, and he likes to use these different personnel groups and what have you. And so adding a guy like Harris who can play all three of the positions, who has experience doing it, who started games for this team, I think that was important. He's also a pretty dang good special teamer. We'll see. I mean, they still have, without Willie Gay Jr., they still have 5 linebackers on the roster without Harris. I don't know if they're going to keep all 6 active for the game. They might, but I might be a little surprised.
I would really hope that we see different elevations at the defensive line position than we saw last game.
I wouldn't get your hopes up, man.
I know. I'm to the point. No, I'm fine with Mike. Mike's fine. Mike's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Mike Pennell. I am trying not to be mean to and rude to play. I cannot for the life of me understand why Dickerson is on this roster.
The Chiefs don't seem to like these big run-stuffing defensive linemen that they have on the team.
Neil Farrell
traded for Neil Farrell
Jr. Of a house.
They traded for him to make him inactive every week. It doesn't make sense, especially when I thought he played pretty well in week 18.
He was great in week 18. I don't and against running teams and against teams like Buffalo
against Buffalo, I think it would have made more sense than this week. I think with the personnel that the Ravens have, and when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson who's more of a slasher and not a run through you type of runner, I think you want some of those lighter defensive linemen who can pursue. I mean, we saw Chris Jones come and take down Josh Allen from behind a couple times. I don't know that we're going to see.
I don't know why Matt Dickerson he doesn't. Yeah. He's not bigger than anybody. He's not faster than any of the fastest guy. He's just a giant ball of kind of average, and in large segments he's not even been that. And then last week when he got bullied, he turns around and starts to get into it with somebody and potentially you can't draw. First of all, I hope you're just trying to draw the penalty, because if you are out there doing that and you're gonna get you don't have the recognition in the league to get away with stuff against some of the guys you were doing that to.
If he got a penalty in a key situation, I have no doubt in my mind.
He was close twice last game. He was real close.
I have no doubt in my mind that Andy Reid would sit him down on the bench and wouldn't let him get it.
And it's but with that kind of stuff, and then with some of the guys like you mentioned that they've traded for, that they have sitting around, that they've signed, Bugs. Yeah. That's another guy.
Look, I mean, it takes time, right? Bugs hasn't been here very long. Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing Bugs in this game, maybe over Dickerson, because Bugs has played the Ravens this year. So maybe he has some intel, or maybe he did something good in that game that you think he can do again in this up a whisker away from a flag.
He was this close twice.
Yeah, it was very close, very close. Yeah, safe to say, hopefully the Chiefs run out a little bit different of a D-line rotation than they did last week. Ultimately, that was kind of the biggest weakness of the defense, was just the D-line, A, not getting a lot of pressure, and then B, really not playing, I guess, the contain. There's another, Joe Cullen had a good word for it, but, you don't want to let Lamar Jackson get by you, but you also want to get to him. You can't over pursue. Are going to need some more agile, lighter guys. Hopefully we'll see Malik Herring activated once again. And yeah, just let Dana and Karlaftis eat on the edges over there. Rotate FAU in if you need to. But yeah, probably don't need a lot more of Matt Dickerson play on this D-line going forward. But that's going to be the biggest thing to watch out for, is how this D-line kind of reacts.
Charles, I wanted to talk to you about this exact thing because of the D-line and what he just mentioned. I think some of the line play in the Buffalo game, now the first half, they weren't good. They weren't good for a couple of different reasons. But I don't think they were as bad as everybody thinks because of what they were actually trying to do with Josh. They were bad in the first half, so much so that there's a video going around from inside the NFL of Chris Jones and Joe Cullen on the sideline, and people thought they were disagreeing, and actually Chris was agreeing with them and chewing on, I believe, Charles Omenihu pretty good with Coach Cullen. When you play Josh Allen and when you play guys like Lamar Jackson, and what Garrett just mentioned with Cullen talking about of not wanting to get past them, they talked about they were rushing past them upfield, they were getting beat, and then he was escaping out the back. that led to a lot of Chris Jones and the interior of the pass rush just kind of standing their guys up and kind of floating and looking for knockdowns and not really necessarily pushing him. And I think that's a lot because I'm guilty of it. On first watch, I was like, is the defensive line alive? Is anybody there?
Right.
Hello?
Yeah.
And then
But it does
I
make
went
sense.
back and watched it on the 22, and I went back and watched it again a couple of times, and I was like, okay, it makes a lot of sense that this looks like this line did not perform well, especially, and I thought somewhat so in the second half, especially in the third quarter. And it turned out it was because that was on purpose, that what they completely altered what they were doing from the line perspective, which come
Yeah.
to find out, they didn't just alter the line, they altered the whole freaking defense in the locker room at halftime. But from that perspective, is it going to be similar this week with Baltimore?
Yeah. They have the secondary where they can do that, where they can play contain and like the secondary can buy them an extra couple of seconds to win, on a secondary move or win on a power rush, as opposed to getting upfield and around the tackle and providing that lane where the quarterback can be flushed, and then you have to rely on your secondary, your linebackers coming up to make a tackle on a guy or have a spy. I think that the goal was to contain, don't let it with his legs, let him beat you throwing the football and hope that he makes a mistake. And I do think that this week they are going to. Josh Allen's a hard guy to confuse. He can make a lot of throws. And, like I said, Lamar Jackson has been playing a lot better, but I feel like the exotic coverages and blitzes and stuff that Spags can throw at him, I think he can get him a couple times. And that's all it takes in a game like this to make the difference. And we'll just see. I mean, they got to be better against the run. This week they allowed too many running yards for that plan to really be effective. In the end, it didn't end up mattering much. But I do think that the group of running backs and the run game in Baltimore could be a little bit more effective if they're not closing up those gaps a little bit better.
One of my favorite bits that our friend of the program, Josh Briscoe, does is the look, we won or lost the game, and it's a picture of the time of possession chart for the game. It's one of my favorite things that he does when there's conversation about that, because no lie, the Bills won that game if you go by that, by almost 15 minutes, but it didn't matter. They won that game by a whole quarter in the time of possession chart. But
that hasn't worked in
ever,
in a long time,
frankly.
Pretty much ever. Yeah, actually,
with Patrick, it pretty much doesn't work with Pat.
Yeah,
I know that this just made me think of something. I know we talked a little bit about the Ravens defense earlier, but I was looking back just at like some of the things they've done this season, some of the quarterbacks they played, and I was just looking through the list of names, and I'm like, there are not like many quarterbacks who like create on their own, right?
There's two guys.
Like there's not a lot of quarterbacks who can extend the play like a Patrick Mahomes can. Obviously, I mean, Patrick Mahomes does it better than anybody else out there, but like it's not like, and yes, they do play against Lamar Jackson in practice. I do get that. So that's
kind of in training camp. Mostly.
Right. That's something. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like that's going to be an element of this game where the Ravens are going to get got a couple times by Pat, because it's inevitable. That's just the way he is, and how they adjust to containing him from, making those plays outside of the pocket or where he has to improvise and whatnot. That could end up being pivotal to this game as well.
Well, and you mentioned limiting big plays to start this breakdown of this whole game when we talked about the Ravens defense against the Chiefs offense earlier, and that's going to be one of their main focuses. Well, you mentioned Pat's going to get you a couple of times no matter what you do, because, I mean, that's just kind of what he is. And you mentioned that it could be pivotal, and that's where I think if Lamar's going to get you a couple times, because he'll probably get you once or twice with something big, whether it's a run, whether it's a crazy throw, whatever. He's very good. He's an MVP. He's going to be he's very good. But if he gets you, your offensive coordinator for the Ravens versus Spags, okay, cool. But then on the other side, Patrick gets your really good defense a couple times just because he's really good, just like Lamar is against our really good defense. Well, then Andy gets Mike a few times, and now all of a sudden you're at a disadvantage because Andy's burned you a couple times and Patrick's burned you a couple of times, and now you guys are fighting with Lamar burning you a couple. You're short a couple of extra burnings. You're missing a couple of extra free explosives because that guy's pretty good at what he does. He's been doing it for 30 years almost. So at a 44% AFC championship game rate, if I'm not mistaken, if I read that stat right
it's
earlier,
the old saying,
Looney Tunes, but
it's championship game period, right?
Yeah,
NFC, AFC, regardless.
Crazy.
Yeah,
but
it's
just the old saying.
In your career is crazy.
It's just the old saying that they're gonna get theirs. You just gotta get yours more than you got, though. Yeah.
Plays a couple more years here. If Mike Florio allows it, then he might be up to a 50% championship game rating.
Who knows?
Well,
who knows?
So
he'll probably retire by that time, hopefully.
That's the thing that's crazy. Well, not really, Garrett. I think if they go back again next year, it's like 48%, and then or 47 or 48% in the year after, I think puts him at 50%. So if they tie Brady's 8 years in a row record,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's there. But that's not even the whole point of it. That's just like when you're breaking these games down, and these are super, super explosive, great quarterbacks and super good defenses. It comes down to 2 or 3 of these random wins you get from an advantage you may not have. That's when you break these down and it gets close. And that's why, like, if you look at the line on this game, I think it opened at 3 or 3.5. It's moved up to 4 at some points for the Ravens being favored. The Chiefs, but if you really broke this game down probably a couple of months ago or even a month ago before the playoffs started, the Ravens are probably a 7.5 point favorite at all.
I mean, just considering
the Vegas line is like, the Vegas sports books are like, we're not putting a 7.5 point line out on the Chiefs. We aren't trying these things.
We're not trying to lose all our money.
Yeah, we built these things for a reason. We don't want to have to give them away. So this game is going to come down to a very small margins, I think. I don't think there's a blowout in either direction, no matter how much the media wants to pretend there's going to be a blowout. I think we're to the point of, we're going to get Levon. We know that. We know villain mode. He's fully bought in. So that's going to be no problem. The question is, can they play turnovers or win the turnover margin for 60 minutes and minimize the shoot yourself in the foot mistakes, the stupid penalties, the and not even necessarily a holding penalty or whatever, because those are going to happen. The procedural, the false starts, the disciplines, the stupid stuff that has happened all year.
I think the false start is going to be key this game. Obviously, hopefully no one reminds any officials or.
They were really good last week in a nasty environment.
Right, a loud environment. Aside from one play where I think they both were penalized on the same play or something like that, but
get it out of the way at the same time. I don't care. Fine, if you're both going to take one, do it together. Unity.
But it's going to be loud. It's a hostile environment, and you're prone to false starts in those. Let them come, just hopefully not at key moments, because that has been really just the backbreaker for this offense lately.
It's always the timing of how bad they've been. It's not even that they've been bad. It's just when they're bad.
Yeah. It's been interesting. So I agree. It's going to come down to a pretty close margin at the end. Do we want to get some score predictions going on here before we send this thing out?
I wanted to ask Charles, is there anything you've written about this week? Anything that you've put out? Because if you guys aren't aware, we led the show with what he's over there doing at AtoZ Sports, but he's putting out all kinds of stuff for you guys all the time. He keeps a pretty good timeline of the pressers on his Twitter timeline if you want to go through those. He's got all kinds of stuff for you. But of all the stuff, because I've been keeping up with all the stuff you've written and all the stuff you're covering, is there anything you want anybody to definitely go check out right now and check out this week?
Yeah, if you're not feeling super confident in Nick Allegretti, I wrote an article about him earlier this week that should help you gain a little bit of confidence about his play, just a little bit about his background, his history with the Chiefs, games he's played, he started in, and where he excelled coming in for Joe Thuney last week, and then today, goodness, I don't even remember what all I wrote today. I had an article about what basketball coach, what KU's Bill Self had to say about his Chiefs Ravens prediction. Obviously, he's picking the Chiefs.
Okay.
Everybody knows that, right? But what he had to say about the reason that he's picking the Chiefs, I found that very, very interesting, especially after what we saw last week and the post game and kind of the chip this team has had on their shoulder going into this road stretch of the postseason here. So I thought that was really good. And obviously just got updates on all sorts of stuff from, the roster moves to, some of the things that have been going on, behind the scenes, as we kind of lead up to the off season. And tomorrow I'll absolutely have some updates for you on practice squad elevations, probably midday. It's usually when those come out, and we'll have some good content leading into the game. I got a whole team of writers now, guys. I mean, I got a bunch of Chiefs writers. I also
squad.
A whole squad, right? I'm helping our coverage kind of here on the AFC conference and whatnot. So if you're reading Ravens content at AtoZ Sports, there's a good chance that I've edited or looked over some of those articles from our writers as well. But we got a cool thing going on over at AtoZ Sports. So if you haven't checked us out before, please go check us out.
Yeah, definitely one of the best follows on Twitter if you want Chiefs content, Chiefs updates, everything you need. At Gold MCT NFL, you should definitely go over there and check that out and check out the AtoZ Sports website because they're pumping out a lot of stuff out there. So there's definitely a good one-stop shop for everything you need, anything NFL related. They got you covered over there.
And you'll have to forgive me for the occasional like breakfast burrito or like comic book tweets or movie tweets, but mostly Chiefs. Sometimes Kansas City barbecue. Yeah,
if you have issues with most of those things, I don't know if you should. I mean, okay. I like all of those things, so I don't know why there would be problems.
It's good. It's good.
Hey, you never know. Sometimes the breakfast burrito tweets might offend somebody's sensibilities. You never know.
Well, I'm sorry. Scroll. If you do like, on a random note, if you do like comic book stuff and you guys haven't seen it, one of the other friends of the show, PJ Mitko, he's at Mitko on Twitter. He does comic book covers, drawings and renditions of the Chiefs games. He has one, I think, for this week. I think it was a special request that he ended up putting out from. It ended up being the whole secondary, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are fantastic. He did the Fab Five, right?
Yeah, he did the Defenders. He did the Defenders cover with Snead and Josh and Legarius and I just said Legarius.
Legarius and Snead,
Trent and
Jalen Watson.
Yep.
Good.
Legarius and Snead. It's like it's like Patrick and LeBron.
Yeah,
exactly. Two different guys, but when you need them, they'll show up. So we'll send you out of here, and we all appreciate everybody who's tuned into this live stream today, and anyone who's listening after the fact on YouTube or any of the other podcast platforms. But we'll send us out of here with some score predictions. Charles, being our guest, I'll let you go first here. What do you think the final score is on Sunday?
Yeah, I got like a 30-24 Chiefs victory. I was feeling like a 3-point win for a while, but I just feel like I feel like this one's going to be a little bit more than 3 points. I feel like the offense is going to get rolling a little bit. I think that they feed Pacheco and Clyde the ball, and that they catch the Ravens a little bit off guard with what they do in the running game. And I think that they get the job done just enough on defense, limiting, Lamar a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. But I think there's going to be a big play to end the game. I'm predicting like a Mike Edwards interception ends it on the final drive where Lamar and the Ravens are trying to drive down the field to equalize or take the lead.
Well,
Yeah.
we
Kyle,
didn't even
what are
talk
you
about
thinking?
Mike being back this week because he was hurt.
That's true.
Play 2, I believe, with a concussion.
Yeah, I anticipate that he'll play. He was a full participant in practice. He still has 2 more days to technically clear the protocol. I expect he'll clear tomorrow.
I was the only thing I was wondering is how, because I know we ran into it the one week with Wanye when it was a shorter week, and I was like, "There's no way he's getting back with."
Yeah, it's also one of those things like Mike is probably, and I don't know this for certain, but he's probably been through this before, being in the NFL for a while. Yeah, I think that Wanye, that was probably his first concussion, possibly ever, if not his first in the league.
Probably in the NFL.
The protocols are a little bit different, and going through those, and just knowing your body and whatnot, to kind of pass those protocols.
Yeah. So with that, Garrett, do you want to go next, or you want me to go?
Go ahead, Kyle. I'll let you go ahead, and I'll close this out.
So I've gone back and forth all week. This game is going to be close. It's going to come down to 2, 3, maybe 4 plays. The line makes no sense to me here. That's out in Vegas. The over-unders, it's 44.5. Because I just don't know that there's going to be a ton of points scored with these 2 defenses. It's hard because these quarterbacks could absolutely go nuclear, and both defenses could be as good as you want, and they have no chance, except to watch the display of elite level play happen. Because that happens sometimes in these games when you get crazy quarterbacks. So it's very easily an option. I lean more towards a 1-possession game, and it's probably low scoring for me. I've gone back and forth. I think it's probably like 23-17 Kansas City, and it could very easily be 23-17 Baltimore.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just, for me, Andy and Spags against Todd Monken and Mike McDaniel. There's levels.
Yeah,
that's mainly my difference here.
It's a big difference. For me, personally, I have a lot of confidence going into this game. In my eyes, I honestly believe that the Buffalo Bills were a harder challenge than this Ravens team is. And that's just me. I really think that overcoming the Bills in Buffalo was and will be a harder challenge than this Ravens team. And that's not to discredit the Ravens. I think, the Ravens kind of remind me of like the 2019 Titans, like it seems like it's their year. They have a good year going with them. I just think that they're going to run into the buzzsaw that is the Chiefs once again, which is not as much of a buzzsaw as it was back in 2019. But my confidence for the game is pretty high. I was leaning in that same vein of Charles as 31-24 instead of 30-24. I feel like the Chiefs defense, really that's going to be the big thing, obviously, is the Chiefs defense locking down Lamar, limiting those big explosive plays that they're very used to. They have a lot of explosivity on that offense. And then really the defense, or the Ravens defense matching up with us, it's just about if we show up or not. And I've said it throughout the year, towards the end of the year, I would have put the Chiefs offense showing up at about like a 25% chance. I would firmly put that closer to 75% now. Honestly, that's how confident I'm feeling in this, and what they're doing on offense now, especially from the past couple of weeks. What they've exhibited, it seems like the chemistry is at an all-time high. It seems like they've really started to unleash the playbook. And obviously, we talked about this is going to be the week that you really unload some of those plays you've been saving. This is the time to do it. And I just think there's no passing up an opportunity like this to go to a second consecutive Super Bowl and potentially win it instead of how it was last time. But just the fact that you have a shot at it like this, we were playing with house money the past couple of games, but it just seems like the opportunity is there for the taking, and we really should take this thing.
And I love it because styles make fights, and I don't necessarily disagree with you about Buffalo being stylistically built more to be a problem for us than Baltimore is, partially because their division is not as problematic. Like Baltimore plays in a rugged division where they have to play to build for that division to play in that division. The Bills don't have to really do that with their division. No, if you
Not
look
as much. They
around
got the
their
Dolphins
division,
that they got to worry about nowadays.
Yeah,
but
now
I very
but,
much,
like,
and I think really too, like obviously, we've beat the Bills 3 times in the playoffs. They, in a part, have to kind of design their team to stop the Chiefs in a way too. The Ravens really haven't had that thing. Like they really, I mean, they've got
we
a
haven't
good
seen
team.
them for a while. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Since
exactly.
It's the last game.
It's been a while since we've seen them. So obviously it's, they're a good team and I don't want to discredit them at all. And they still could come out and really kick us in the mouth and really run it down our throat and play some physical AFC North football, which is what they're used to. But I just believe that matchup wise, this is not as tough for the Chiefs. And as long as we can obviously eliminate all the mistakes, which is always a thing. It's always a thing of eliminating the mistakes and the penalties and shooting yourself in the foot. But I truly believe that this will be a good matchup for the Chiefs and a good game overall. Probably another instant classic of a Chiefs playoff game that we'll remember for a long time.
It's a level up game. Mahomes either levels up because they go back to another Super Bowl and have a shot at back to back, or Lamar levels up and he gets a shot at his first ring. It's a level up game for these quarterbacks.
And I will say too,
it's house money really for all of the Chiefs and the fan base and Patrick, to be honest.
And I do want to say as well, I really like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. Like I have to say that, I think there's a lot of animosity between Chiefs and Bills fans and Chiefs and Bengals fans, specifically. And I would throw the Chargers in there just because of Herbert. Like it seems like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert are like the 3 like main. I don't even call them rivals for Mahomes, but just like the comps for him.
The normal talking points for who's in.
Yeah, the people they want those guys to be better than Mahomes because they're a similar style of quarterback in a sense.
Lamar's to being on the same plane than any of those other guys.
Yeah,
he has more accolades.
Lamar really, to me, I mean, obviously he's a little bit different stylistically of a quarterback than all of those, which is probably why he's not in that conversation as much. Definitely very much is in that top tier of quarterbacks though. And I would say like if push comes to shove, I don't want the Ravens to win, but also I do like Lamar Jackson a lot, and seeing him win a Super Bowl potentially would be cool. So I wouldn't mind it as much as I've seen Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or one of these guys. Unfortunately though, it's just not going to be his year. It's not going to be his year.
Think about the final 4 teams that are in this thing. No matter what matchups we get, it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to be a good game.
This is a very fun playoff.
You're getting the Super Bowl rematch you're getting either a Super Bowl rematch, another Super Bowl rematch, because remember, everybody forgets, but the Ravens played the Niners in the Super Bowl at one point.
That was the original horrible.
Yeah. The Lions, we would get a rematch of Week 1 this year potentially. Or you get 2 franchises that one hasn't done anything since they were since Trent Dilfer really and Joe Flacco were around, and the other one who hasn't done anything in
ever.
Holy crap, how long? So it's there's plenty here, and that's why I thought it was great. This is the end. We're wrapping up here, but I thought it was great that all of the conspiracy theorists threw all their crazy crap out for all the different conspiracies that exist that all contradict one another. So that way we just got them all out of the way early and ahead of time, and everybody can take them and point up, oh, well, this guy was wrong and this guy was right about this conspiracy, and it's going to be great fun. So I'm just excited for that part too.
I heard one that Roger Goodell is a hologram and that Taylor Swift is actually the commissioner of the NFL. So, I mean,
that's almost on par with the one I saw about the microchips in the footballs and having magnets in the goalposts that could direct which way the football went with it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't seen that one yet. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was rolling around on the X Twitter timeline.
Play with magnetism. Like, I mean, hey, why not? Just maybe someone had a giant magnet in the stands and they just sucked it towards.
The only problem with that is, you probably got someone in the stands at the stadium who has like a pacemaker or something.
Pacemaker.
You turn on that giant electromagnet and you just fried your fan in the crowd. He's done for.
That'd be a pretty dead
giveaway. Across well, it would be like wearing metal in the MRI rooms or whatever. Where
exactly. I guess the conspiracy theorists didn't think of that one.
Don't do that, kids.
Yeah. Always remember the pacemakers. That's So. With that being said, I think that's a good place to wrap it up here. Charles, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Always a tremendous pleasure having you on, talking with you. You're one of our favorite guys to
with
talk
us
to and
for
follow.
all of our tech issues and goofy things.
No,
this
it's
evening.
great. I appreciate you guys having me on all the time. It's always fun.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for tuning in to the live stream, and whoever's watching afterwards, be sure to follow us on our YouTube, where all these live streams will be going forward. It's just a little funny little thing today, but definitely follow us on our YouTube at Kingdom Says Pod. Also check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram,
and Twitch.
Always. And Twitch. Yeah, we'll do some Twitch stuff on there as well, so some live stuff. So yeah, it was fun, good episode, and hopefully everyone is ready for Sunday. I know we sure are over here at Kingdom Says. So
next time on live chat, the chat can get involved and throw questions at us, and we'll figure out how to weave them in here. We'll get the lives going. You guys,
we'll have this all
with us.
Definitely much better operation next time we go around. But it was good. I think it was good. I think it was a good first go around for this.
We thank you, Charles, immensely.
Hey,
I'm
happy to be here for the test run.
yeah. So with that said, we will sign out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you. Hopefully we'll definitely see you next week.
We'll see you next week. I just hope we're in a good mood.
We will. Hopefully it will be good spirits. I've done this at the end of every show in the playoffs, but if this is the end, definitely thank you for tuning in and following us this entire time. But this ain't gonna be the end. We're going all the way, guys. We're doing this thing. We're doing it once again. So thank you for tuning in, following us, and we will see you guys on the next episode of The Kingdom Says.